Nicola Sturgeon is an interesting but dangerous character. Why? Because she's always been very professional and very good with media and manipulating the public, especially in Scotland. I mean, not everybody is falling for it, but she's been generally keeping up a very kind of good and professional image, at least in the past few years. But she's very destructive. Her policies are damaging Scotland and actually are damaging the United Kingdom in general. She's crossing the line now. She's spent the last few years criticizing Donald Trump for imposing a travel ban, for wanting to strengthen America's borders against Mexico. What is she doing now? She's imposing a travel ban from England and she's strengthening a border. Well, she's setting up a border that's not supposed to be there between England and Scotland. And this woman is absolutely chaotic with her policies, her government, well, so-called Scottish government in Holyrood are mismanaging everything when it comes to the health crisis, when it comes to economically, social issues, when it comes to schools and education. But she's going out there pretending that she's protecting Scotland from England because everybody from England is going to come and basically make everybody ill in Scotland, as if Scotland had managed this whole thing really well. Well, that's a lie. So this is the interview that she did introducing this travel ban and a wall between England and Scotland.
But given the proximity geographically between Scotland and the areas in the north of England affected, the family connections between us, it's important for me to consider how, firstly, we assist these areas deal with the challenge that they're facing, but also protect Scotland from the risks of onward transmission. For that reason, I am today strongly advising people in Scotland to avoid travel to the areas affected in England, and that is Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire, Lancashire. We'll put more details of the specific areas on the Scottish Government website later on. And also to ask people from these areas not to travel to Scotland. And I think if we see that advice being followed, then we can reduce the risk of further transmission.
Now, I don't know if you paid attention to what she said exactly. She's one of the most authoritarian leaders that we've had. But she goes out there using nice and kind words. She said, I strongly advise not to go to England and people from England not to come to Scotland. And then she said, we're going to obviously give out the details and guidelines. The details are actually a policy. So it's not really advising. She will stop people at the border. That's the plan that they have. And I mean, firstly, they're not going to be able to enforce it because it's not easy to, unless they're going to put up like an actual kind of cars in every checkpoint and make the whole country look like North Korea. Good luck with that. Otherwise, it is still a policy that's going to be imposed. It's not a nice suggestion or advice saying, guys, can you please not go to Manchester? No, and this is the whole point is she's taken advantage. She's making this whole thing political. She wants to blame England and the Westminster government for everything and say that we in Scotland, our government, fixed it. You know, there are no issues anymore here. Everybody's healthy. And it's only people from England who are infected. These are dangerous people. We should stop people from England. So this is the problem with Nicola Sturgeon. She's doing all this ridiculous stuff. But on this channel, we always expose her idiocy. Now, it's Monday, so we've received your questions. The questions from the members of the channel, so I'm going to go to a few of them. There's a lot of questions about the Dover situation with the migrants and Priti Patel, so I'm going to go to that, and also the NHS and everything else. Let's go with to the first one. Alex Marman says, hi Maya, surely the UK government needs to end all the funding to the French authorities as it is clear that they are doing nothing to stop the flow of the illegal migrants across the English Channel, and it is the taxpayer money that is going to waste. Yeah, so there's also a question about the hotels, obviously, that taxpayer is funding to accommodate these people. Now, my view is that, yes, the French are getting money from us, and they're supposed to be stopping these boats. In reality, they're escorting them. Yes. What you should do is, if the French side aren't really going with what they're supposed to be doing, then you could do the same. Just send the boats back. And if they complain and say, well, you didn't do your bit when it comes to those agreements, so we're going to do the same. I think it will take some time. But what Nigel Farage did with his video will start to have an impact slowly, because yes, the government and politicians won't really listen to Nigel Farage, but his video and his obviously what he's been doing is going to be pushing others to do it. And I think that's the biggest important part. It might take some time, but the campaign has already started. Politicians and governments will have to listen slowly. But the mainstream media need to start talking about this, otherwise, there won't be any impact. White Viper says, "Hi Maya. With China's posturing against India, coupled with the South China Sea issues that now involve the US and Australia, can you see a limited confrontation, I mean, underground? Not necessarily in that way. I think it's more likely that we'll have a situation like how we dealt with the Soviet Union in the 80s, where it is simply just a lot of bluffing, a lot of gesturing, posturing, and all that stuff. But I think in the 21st century, the battleground has changed. It's mostly now cyber related, financial related, and I think it's actually even more dangerous to an extent. It's affecting people's lives. And actually, there's a question about TikTok that's going to come in a minute, and I'm going to answer that soon. Christopher says, how would you propose? So, Christopher and Jason Jordan Smith asked similar questions. Christopher says, how would you propose reforming the NHS that it will be sold to everyone in a positive manner? And Jason says, do you think it's time for a root and branch reform of the NHS? So, I think Christopher actually put the answer in the question. The best way to deal with this is because the NHS has become a religion, a national religion, and it's faith based. People don't care about outcome or reality or how it works. They go with the two things. One is that politicians for decades have been saying, well, the NHS is the best system because it's free. Well, it comes because it's free. It's not free. And they think that they've been scaring people, saying that without this, you will all die because you all have to pay. That's not the alternative, guys. Secondly, is people, again, because it's a faith-based system, if one person has a good experience in a hospital, they say, well, the NHS is brilliant. The NHS saved my life. I had a great experience. Well, that's relative. That's a personal experience. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant because you got saved not by the NHS, but by the staff, the nurses, the doctors, the professionals, not the NHS. There's a massive difference between the NHS logo and brand and the people who actually work in it, the doctors and nurses. The best thing to do is, obviously, we know the solution is there are better systems out there that are universal. So universal healthcare still exists in Europe, Switzerland, Germany, and other places. Some of these systems are better than the others. Singapore, so everybody will still have access. And it is a similar system to the NHS in terms of the funding, that it's still insurance based, because the NHS is insurance based. You pay every month your tax money. But they're more obviously effective, and the quality of outcome is better. And so what we have to do is, when we sell the new version, which should be the European system, is it's still universal healthcare system. You still have access, and we still have the safety net if you can't afford it. We're just going to make it cheaper and more effective. But that's a whole video. I might actually make a proper NHS video on this. Adam says, with regards to Nigel Farage's exposure of the whole incompetence of the Tories, do you think it's likely that we will ever get a proper immigration and border control? Yeah, the more, as I said earlier, the more pressure, the better. I think just like with anything that we've done, actually Nigel Farage has been very good historically with putting pressure up to a point where government policy changes, like the referendum. There will come a time when the moment the Tories feel the real pressure when it comes to migration and the border, might be the next election. You might have to wait some time. That's how they change their policy. If they feel the complacency that the general public out there, generally speaking, don't care, which is not true, by the way, but they get their mood from the media. They don't get it from the silent majority, because the silent majority are silent. That's the issue. But there should come a time when even we can change government policy by putting pressure. Next question from Sam is, Maya, hope you're having a good weekend after the whole BLM incident. I'm good. What is your take on TikTok and the whole snooping problem? Yes, so China obviously have been using TikTok to access our data. This has been quite known now recently, and it's not really surprising. They're using a lot of businesses and corporations to snoop around. America is banning TikTok. UK, it came out today in the news that they're moving TikTok HQ to London. So you could see it differently, because some people say if the HQ comes to London, and if we actually uh, take away the control from the Chinese Communist Party, then TikTok will be an independent business. Fine, yes, but at the moment, I don't trust them. I don't want them nearby. So, yeah, I don't trust TikTok. Delete TikTok if you have it on your phone. It makes no sense. There's no point. Just watch YouTube. Matthew says, Maya, in one of your videos this week, you said that you spent 5 years negotiating deals in your proper job. Just wondering what you do day to day, and what is your background, political? Is your background political? And all this stuff. So yeah, so obviously now I do this as a daily job. So and we're actually going to expand our business, the YouTube channel in general. So we're going to actually make this your go-to hub for everyday news. So right now we do 1 or 2 videos a day, focusing on the main topics of the day. But we're going to actually, in the next week or so, especially for the members of the channel, we're going to give you a proper schedule, proper news show, a news channel, so you get more information from us. Before I used to work for a few years. I was negotiating deals for tech startup companies to help them essentially expand their businesses and give them growth. So yeah, I worked with a lot of tech startups, especially whether it was fintech or some of them in hospitality and insurance, essentially kind of business to business deals that I kind of helped. A lot of companies were international, German, American, UK based. So that was my background. And before that, I also worked in a pizza shop where I cooked pizza. I think I'm Of all the pizzas I made, I think I ate more free pizzas than I gave to customers, which was a bad idea. But one of the best jobs I've had was that pizza place. Ray says, and yes, before that I did work in Parliament as well, and I've been in the political circle for about 10 years. That's where my connections come from. Ray says, how do you feel about the FF Force, and what do we know about this group? Is it not against the law to wear uniforms for political reasons? So the FF Force is the group of a BLM group who were marching in the streets of Brixton a couple of nights ago, causing chaos, saying a lot of radical things, wearing proper uniforms. You're not allowed to wear uniforms because it's political, and it's a lot of people will mistake you for authorities, and you're not supposed to be doing this. Yet the authorities came out yesterday and said, no, it's fine, they're allowed to do it. But if I go out there and wear a uniform that looks like a police uniform, I will literally be stopped by the authorities. But yeah, these guys are very radical. They're proper militant, and they're not your typical BLM supporters that go marching around the streets of London. These are the actual activists, hardcore. David says, hello, Maya. Judging from the way the EU negotiations are going, and also looking like that we won't have any other deals in place by the end of the transition period, how will this affect the UK? That's not completely true, because we do have a couple of trade deals that will be ready by the end of December, beginning of January. So we're negotiating with a lot of big countries, Korea, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, obviously the US. The US one and those specific ones won't be ready, but the other ones will be ready. Japan and New Zealand are now prepared to get it sorted as soon as possible. That's going to help us. If we leave on WTO terms, long term has no impact, because the majority of countries in the world, including America, are trading on WTO terms. They don't have free trade deals. Free trade deals could come in the future. The problem with exiting on WTO is that it will be a short-term impact. That shock. And actually, my view is, and I was speaking to a lot of people in business, at this point, with everything that's going on, with the economic crisis across the world and in the UK as well, with the recession, that short-term shock won't be as visible. So it's actually good timing. If you're going to give a shock to the economy, this is the perfect time to do it, rather than when everything's actually stable. So things are already chaotic, so it won't have that much of a visible impact. It's still a bit bad, but we will survive. We're a big country, and we'll have those other trade deals to as a backup plan. Right, so this is all we have. Callum, last question is, Callum says, it's fine if you don't want to answer, but what political party do you always vote for in general elections? So yeah, the key point is general elections. Usually speaking, the Conservative Party. I have voted for the Brexit Party in the Euro elections last year, but the general election is very much a practical election, not necessarily a symbolic for protest vote, because that's just how first past the post works. There's no point to use that election to send signals. The Euro elections, that was the perfect time to send a massive message to the Tory party and Theresa May to resign, and so that she leaves and we have a leadership elections, and that works. The same thing happened with UKIP in 2014. So with the local elections and the Euros, but general election is too risky to use that as a protest vote. And putting aside the Tories' obviously flaws and a lot of mistakes that they make, what's the alternative? The Labour Party? God no. So that's what I mean. One day, if I create a new party, then it's not going to happen, by the way. Then you can vote for that. But for now, the Tories are still the best option. A quick point: a lot of members who are supporting me, thanks again for supporting the channel, by the way, have been asking how they get access to the members' videos. So if you're a member, you just get the videos just like how normal subscribers get them on the channel, on the timeline. It won't look different. Basically, it just looks like a normal video. The ones who are not members won't see those videos, but if you are a member, you can. You could also go on the community page, the community tab on the channel. That's where I post the actual members video and also all the other posts and questions and everything. So if you want to support the channel, check out the link in the description, or just go on youtube.com/myitc/join, become a member, support the channel so we could continue our work. And on myitc, I'll see you guys in the next video.